All right, peace and love, y'all. Y'all know what it is. It's your boy Bone Simmons. We back, TNR, Teach and Reveal. Y'all know what we here to do, man. I did a lot of studying, right? A lot of research. Did my due diligence. Semitic, anti-Semitic, the Semites, right? We all heard in the Bible the flood with Noah and God. That man flooded the world, and Noah built the ark, and they went through the ark and they was preserved through the flood. And when after the flood was over, they were supposed to repopulate the world. And Noah had 3 sons, right? Ham, Shem, and Japheth. This is where the Hamites, the Semites, and the Japhites, you know what I mean? Were these three races supposed to, populated the world. So much other parts of the world, and there's so many other races that's not accounted for, right? That's one thing that we just got to take, just logical thinking. You know what I mean? As human beings, we just got to think about that for one. We got to think about other things like people have been mixing and mingling since the beginning of time. Like, you know what I mean? Not since the exact beginning of time, but since, migration and people started traveling at all. You know what I mean? Way before any of these religions was even formed. It's a lot of faith-based, beliefs that people have and that people carrying on. So, that's just in general, not arguing it here nor there, saying we're the people, they're the people. It's just, common sense. Like, so, when you say Semites, that's where we derive from. So now, and further along, it was like a language, certain languages that was speaking from text that was derived, right? So now they finding these old architects, they finding old writings and stuff, and they're associating it with a people, a language of a people, right? Derived from these people, the Semites, right? So the Semitic languages, Semitic people, certain origins in certain places of the world, right? But another thing is this: when it comes to the term Jew, it's technically means someone that assumes the identity of someone from that line, but it says either one of the reasons why it could be someone from that line is through conversion. So that's one thing that's admittedly there with the definition technically, that, so that's basically saying it doesn't have to be blood. These are also relating to a group of people that converted to this specific, way of life and this specific way of living, this culture and this tradition. It's basically, like I said, like I mentioned, it's a faith-based belief, but it's kind of derives from those things. Now, this is one interesting fact that I will bring out while I'm stating those things, right? And I heard this from somebody and it stuck out to me like an irrefutable fact just sitting in your face, right? If, today, for us today to have a people to say that they're the chosen people and they be specifically white people, right? Then obviously mixing couldn't have been taking place with that specific ethnicity during those times, because it's no way that you could mix with black. Excuse me, I just dropped my notes. But it's no way you could mix with blacks, right? And remain white through thousands of years. So, and that was just an interesting fact. Just like, no, that's obviously, you know what I mean? So if it was a set of chosen people here and it wasn't black, right, at this time, then, genetically, geographically, we wouldn't, it wouldn't make sense, right? And that's another thing, right? To understand these, so kind of to trace the Semitic origins, right? Because I'm trying to give you the basis of it all. So I'm starting off with layers, right? So that's just kind of background of what was, what were the term Semitic and what people was associated with being Semitic, was Semites, right? From Noah, the Semites, the text that was found, a language that was spoken, which is crazy because if this is one man had 3 sons and they all different nationalities, so we got to understand too that everything is not physical, right? Because what's your ethnicity in the spirit realm once your body dies? You're not a black man. You're either God's child or not. You're either the son of God or the son of man. So and when it comes to that, then we have to understand that we may not always be able to identify God's people by looking at their physical skin, right? So God may not have intended for us to recognize each other with just skin, right? So during so many mixing during the times, then we got to understand that, it's going to be extra hard. If you would have a group of people now that would be specifically white, stating that they was the group of people or not black, then that would be virtually impossible, right? But now we do have Jewish communities, which is admittedly so, according to the definition, by conversion, not by lineage. And now even when the nations, and this is one last little thing, even when it comes to nations, many races have derived from nations in general, right? So it is all of those things all of those places of people that wasn't counted in that Shem, Ham, and Japheth line is people that was intermingling with all of those nations, so you can't count those out. And even the Shem lines where certain barriers now where they have like Asia and overlapping, Africa. So, a lot of places is not geographically proportioned the right way on a lot of maps. So we got to understand and just dig deeper and look at some older maps and some older things to refer to those, before it was more diluted, right? That's another thing too that we got to understand that I would like to share for people to understand, like how exactly to extract information. You know what I mean? You got to have good study habits. But just knowing that we have a group of people that associate with this culture, now you know where they get Semitic and Semites from, right? Or why the word Semitic. Now, anti-Semitic obviously is anti that. But more specifically, when the Jewish community speaks of anti-Semitism now, and when certain Jewish people try to use it as a scare tactic for the media, what they're saying is dangerous, and so dangerous about anti-Semitism is that they believe the rhetoric that was spewed against them in Germany, in Germany with the Nazis and that guy with the H, right? I'm not even going to say his name in the video, but that guy with the H, right? And I maybe shouldn't have said those Z's. But anyway, when it comes to those, they had like they was giving out posters of, with depictions. I'll show some images with negative images of those people and propaganda to the mass public and preaching to the mass public during the time of the Great Depression, and saying that this group of people was the architect of that. So it was a huge campaign, right? So this like these rhetoric and this campaign pushed is the hugest form of like the violent undertones that set the birth to the mass killing, that other H word that had happened to this group of people, right? The Holocaust that happened to this group of people, right? So when they speak of the anti-Semitism today, they speaking of it in this sense, like, so they're almost accusing like a Kyrie Irving of giving out racist things against Jews, saying attack them and propaganda and brochures and stuff with negative pictures and saying things that they're doing against us and how we got in this depression and why we're, you know what I mean? So this is what they're saying, the undertone is, this is what they're accusing you of kicking off, you know what I mean? So I think that's important to understand when we're talking about, Semitism and anti-Semitism and how that kind of word, how that operates, right? So that's basically that. That's Semitism, anti-Semitism, and how that whole thing is being associated with the group that has converged to Judaism, right? And claim the lineage of the chosen people of God. Identify these places, you can identify the people that was at these places of, Semites, if you want to go down that way. But like I said, me personally, I just feel like it was so many mixing and mingling that we can't do that. And it's not going to be told physically. That's my take on it. Another little funny thing about the brothers, the Ham, the Shem, and Japheth, the three different nations that all came from the same father, brothers, right? The brother Japheth's gave birth, in his line, I think was like his grandson was Gomer, right? Who supposedly had birthed the German nation, right? So, and this is specific. This is the lineage which birthed the Ashkenazi Jews that converted to Judaism from, this line, which actually traced back to the other brother. So to accuse people that can really be traced according to this geographical studies, right? Geographical studies, the true people that would be from Shem, Ham, the Shem line, which would be the Semites, are being accused of anti-Semitism or leading the movement in anti-Semitism, which actually links back to their true heritage. Maybe that's why Kyrie was saying, like, I can't be anti-Semitic, I know who I am, right? Which makes sense if you understand this. And that's kind of crazy. And according to the true history that's out there about Semitic people, then we would understand that this is the African continent that overlapped. And, some people may not want to associate, the people here with that. I'm always studying, I'm always learning, and I'm always trying to teach and reveal. So we will be back, we will return, man. I appreciate, everybody that's been tapping in. The network has grown slowly but surely. And I appreciate that. As always, peace and love to everybody on the planet. You know what I mean? We all are God's creation, and love is the strongest emotion in the world. And love created this world. Love is the energy that created this world and maintains it. And I'm going to do my part by showing that love, man. So peace and love to everybody. You know what I mean? Teach and reveal, tumble and rise, truth and reality, the new religion. That's what we're here to do, man. Protect the king. Hoodie, go to tnrway.com and follow TNRway on Instagram. You know what I mean? Check out some of this gear. Follow me on Instagram, Bond Simmons. YouTube, Bond Simmons. Subscribe to the network. Y'all heard? So there you have it. Semitic people, Semitic language, Semites, anti-Semitism, Jewish. Do what you want with it. Peace.